Hey guys, I just received the new pieces from NATASHA Denona's like mini love collection. I purchased these off of Sephora and I got the Love Cheek Duo, the mini eyeshadow palette, 5-pan eyeshadow palette, and the lipstick. So we are going to be doing some swatches. I'll be doing a demo of the products, applying them to my face, and then we'll do some comparison swatches of the duo, of the lipstick, and I'm gonna hold up the mini eyeshadow palette, other NATASHA Denona palette, just to show you that I couldn't really find any dupes. So let's go ahead and get started with the Love Cheek Duo. So the packaging on this is very similar to the cheek palette that she came out with over like the Valentine's Day season last year. And I think it's a lot of fun. It's really cute, a lot of fun. And this year she went with a duo versus something larger with the 4 pans. So we have a cream blush here, and then we have like a beautiful baked gelée kind of duochrome highlighter on the right-hand side. So here are some swatches. We have the blush on the left-hand side, obviously, and then we have the highlight on the right-hand side. So I have foundation, powder, concealer, and bronzer down. Because this is a cream blush, I was debating whether or not I wanted to put powder down first, but I have found that if I put powder down first and I'm careful with my cream blush application, that the powder actually helps kind of like set the cream blush and kind of helps it from moving if it were to move or anything like that. So anyway, I just went ahead and put down a very, very light layer of powder just to kind of set my foundation. And I do have bronzer down. So I'm just gonna go in with my finger, I think, with this blush. I think you could also probably use a sponge, but I'm gonna try finger first. And just going to pick up some product. This is a really bright, like peachy pink, probably a little bit more towards the peachy side, as you saw in the swatch. And it is very, very pigmented. So I think I probably picked up a little bit too much. So I'm gonna tap some off onto the back of my other hand here and then go in. So like I mentioned, I do have powder down first. So I'm just going to tap this cream blush down. I'm not going to swipe at all. So I'm sure you guys can imagine that this blush is just, it just really speaks to me. I love these really bright, punchy pink and coral type colors. You guys saw me just mention my NARS Air Matte Blush in Darling that I love. It's very similar to this. In fact, when I do comparison swatches for you towards the end of this video, I'm going to compare it to that one. It is very, very similar. So I just love this tone. I just think it brightens up my entire face. And what I do like about this blush too is that it's very easy to blend, as you guys can see. And there's no shimmers or kind of satin sheen to it. It is, I would say, a little bit on the matter side, but it is not flat at all. It is a cream product, so there is a little bit of like a creamy appearance to it, so it doesn't look flat, which I really enjoy. And these kind of like matte, like cream blushes really make for a nice base if you want to throw like a little bit of a blush topper on top, you know, maybe if you want to add a little sheen or a little duochrome or something. I think they just work really nicely by themselves. They work really nicely as like a base, just very, very versatile. So there is the blush applied to one side. And there's my cheek without. Oh, I just love how these bright blushes just make me look, well, definitely feel more youthful, hopefully look more youthful. Oh, and sorry about those dots that you see on the back of my wall there. That's just like light coming in from my blinds. It's so strange. I'm not filming that late. I think the sun's moving, you know, wintertime. Anyway, that's just from my blinds. So let me go ahead and apply to the other side here. I'm gonna tap some off again. Yeah, you really don't need much. This is me just dipping my finger in, wiping some off, and I have plenty of pigment there. And if ever you feel like maybe you applied a little bit too much, I very rarely feel that way when it comes to blush, but if you do feel that way, you can always take like a powder brush, or I used a sponge to apply my foundation today, and I'm just gonna pounce that on top because there's, you know, just the smallest amount of foundation left, and you can really kind of like tamp down the brightness of your blush that way. Uh-oh, the sun is moving. Uh-oh, it's on my face. Let me see. All right, sorry, I moved up a little bit because the sun sun is moving and it's like right on my face. So I'm just gonna move up a little bit until it moves. It's moving pretty quickly apparently. But here is the blush on my cheeks. Let's go ahead and apply the highlight. And this highlight is a really beautiful like duochrome. So I can't say that it's gonna be a highlight that I reach for every day. I don't know, I should probably get it on my skin before I say that, but I don't think it's going to be a highlight that I reach for every day. I think it's going to be, you know, when I'm feeling a little bit more funky. All right, I've got my Sonia G Sculpt 2 brush. I grabbed a brush that is a little bit on the denser side because this is a baked gelée formula. I'm just gonna assume that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pick up product. Maybe not, but I'm just gonna go with this brush. So gonna pick, oh, picks up plenty of product there. And I'm just going to pat it down. This highlight is definitely on like, almost like the flakier side. So once I lay it down, I'm gonna want to kind of work it in, kind of make sure I'm blending it all in. And so it's not like piecey. Ooh, quite the sheen. Oh, and we have a sticker to remove on the mirror. You guys know how much I love this. I will never tire of that. All right, so let's take a close look at this. It could be my lighting, but I really only see the golden warmth of it. I don't really see like the pinky duochrome, or maybe it's because I put it on top of the blush there. But when I see it reflected, you know, all the metallic bits, those are all pretty gold. Okay, so I take it back. This may be one of those highlights that I grab for on a daily basis because, yeah, I think like a golden champagne always looks okay on my skin tone, and that's what I'm seeing here. Really pretty and not too deep. I feel like when I turn away and you don't see it, you can't see like any kind of like highlight streak, but whew, could definitely see the shine there. Okay, I'm gonna try this Xoxo brush because I've had this for a while now and I don't actually like the fact that it's heart-shaped. I don't feel like it actually applies product very evenly, but I feel like I have to use it because this is the Love collection. So I'm gonna try this brush in the highlight and I'm gonna brush it down. Yeah, there's like a flakiness to this highlight. It's very interesting. It's, I was hoping maybe you could see it in the pan. I don't think you can, but there's a little bit of flakiness there where I feel like I need a brush like this Sonia G to really work it in, or you could take like the Smooth Buffer or her Face One brush and really work it in. Otherwise, I feel like it's kind of just sitting on top of the skin. Yeah, I feel like once I kind of really like burnish that in, it looks better. Like it looks like a little bit more glossy and wet instead of just kind of like pieces sitting on top of my skin. All right, so there is the blush and the highlight applied. Let me go ahead and throw on some eyebrow stuff and then we'll jump into the mini eyeshadow palette. Ooh, I just caught sight. The little dots here of sunlight are actually helping, and when I'm looking at this highlight in the sunlight, it actually looks very, very glittery. So this is definitely a micro glittery kind of highlight, which not always my favorite, but I feel like in this like indoor lighting, it looks a little bit more smooth. So kind of maybe depending on where I'm going, we'll determine, you know, if I use this highlight or not. All right, so before I actually start using it, let's take a close look at this eyeshadow palette. Isn't that pretty? So we've got 5 shades here. Here are some swatches, and I'll go from left to right. The first color is U, and that is a duochrome. Next we have R, which is a creamy matte. Next we have My, which is a creamy matte. Then we have True, which is a metallic, and then Love, which is a metallic. So the colors spell out the sentence, "You're my true love." So cute. All right, I'm going to take my Sonia G Classic Crease Brush. I'm gonna go into the R color, which is this very light mauvey creamy matte shade. And I'm gonna apply this, basically use this kind of as like a transition shade. So I'm just gonna add this to my outer corner and then into the socket line area. As I'm applying this, I will tell you that when I finger swatched these shades, the mattes felt extremely, extremely silky, silky smooth. So I know there's, maybe not lately because I think it hasn't happened in a long time, but when she first started coming out with these mini palettes, the quality didn't seem to be the same as her larger palettes, but this definitely, there's definitely no worries there, especially with the mattes. And now that I'm actually using them, it's going on beautifully, blending out beautifully, beautiful pigmentation, you know, all the things that we love about eyeshadow. All right, there is the R color, the creamy matte in that light mauve applied. Really, really beautiful. Like I said, it just blends beautifully. It has really nice pigmentation. Okay, I'm really dying to use this shade here. It's called Love. It is a metallic shade and it just swatched so beautifully. It looks so smooth and it had like gold glimmers in there. Oh, it looks so pretty. So I definitely want to use this. I think I'm just going to apply it all over my lid. I've got my Sonia G Builder 3 brush. It's like a flat shader. And I'm just going to start in the inner corner here and build out. Just checking to see if I have any fallout. Nope, no fallout from those shadows, which is great. And this shadow that I kind of originally thought was more of like a washed out kind of red, now that I have it on my lids and, you know, I'm blending it out, it is really like a pink, like a really pretty mid-tone pink. All right, I've got this Sonia G Smudger 1 brush and I'm gonna go into the dark matte shade here, which is and it is a creamy matte shade. And just gonna run this along my lash line. I'm gonna take that same brush and go into the lighter mauve shade, the R shade, and drag it along my lower lash line. I'm wondering if that is deep enough to add a little bit of dimension, but I don't want anything too dark. Yeah, I think that works. All right, I'm gonna take my finger and grab some of this duochrome, the U shade, and I'm just going to kind of press it onto the center of my lid here, just to add a little bit of sparkle there. Wow, that duochrome brings it all together because it has pinks and a little bit of the purples in there. So it's bringing like the outer corner color in with that love color that I put down in the inner corner. Wow. I feel like this palette is really kind of coming together on my eye. Like when I look at it, I think, oh, okay, you know, they're pretty colors. They look like they go together, but they really come together when you do a look. Okay. I'm gonna grab a little bit more of that light mauve matte shade, just a teensy bit, and just kind of drag that my transition area. I'm gonna take my clean blending brush. This is the Esom G34 brush. It's a really big blending brush. And I really just like using this all by itself to just kind of soften up edges. It just does such a good job. And then I'm gonna grab my Sonia G Flat Definer brush. This is the brush that I've discovered I really like using to add highlight to like this tear duct area. So I'm gonna pick up some of this True color. It's that champagne metallic shade. And I just like placing it down there. Kind of has like the same exact curve as that area. Wow, hot diggity. That is really, really bright. I hope you guys can see that. All right. Wow. I'm really liking this eyeshadow look. I have to say, like I said, when I saw this eyeshadow palette, I was like, okay, this is cute. I think it'll be fun. I like it a lot more on than I do in the palette. All right, so let me curl my eyelashes, put on some mascara, and then we'll be back to play with the lipstick. All right, for lips, she has come out with a new color, part of her I Need a Nude lipstick line, and this is in the shade Amorosa. So it's 36 NP, it's a neutral pink. Packaging is this really fun, you know, hot red metallic. And here is the bullet. It's got the ND stamp in the front. as all of her lipsticks do. And here is a swatch of it. So it's definitely a nude, a little bit on the lighter side for me. Actually, when I was trying to find some dupes for this, I really couldn't. Most of the nudes that I have are a little bit darker or a little bit peachier. I did find one that's close, but we'll talk about that again when we do comparisons at the end. But I'm thinking in terms of lip liner, I'm looking at the 4 lip liners that I have from Natasha Denona, and the lightest one I have is Noah, I believe. All right, so lip liner is on. I'm gonna apply Amorosa. I think that's actually a fine match. I'm a little disappointed. I'm trying to find an excuse to buy more of these Natasha Denona lip liners because I like them so much. But yeah, every time I kind of pull out a new nude and I'm like, oh, I don't think I have a perfect match, one of these works just fine. So Noah works, I think, just fine with this Amorosa shade. So this Amorosa shade is definitely like on the lighter side for me. Most of the beiges and nudes that I have are a little, just a teensy bit deeper than this. I think this is, like, I'm comfortable in this color. There are some pale nudes out there that don't make me feel comfortable. They actually make me feel very uncomfortable. I don't know what it is. Yeah, anyway, it's like too fleshy. This actually is fine by me. It's just a little bit lighter than what I'm used to. So that is Amorosa. I really like it. I don't actually know that I like these two things together though. I feel like this is such a pale, grungy lip and this is such a bright eye, and conceptually I think I would like that, you know, a bolder eye, a paler lip, but I think I'd rather have something more pink down here. I don't know, maybe that's too matchy-matchy. But anyway, this is all the products on together. So let me know what you think down below in the comments section. I'm really loving this eyeshadow palette. Let's go ahead and jump into some comparisons, and we're gonna start with the Love Cheek Duo here. So in terms of the cream blush, I really didn't have that much in this really bright kind of punchy shade. And so I was kind of pulling ones out. They were either a lot more red, a lot more coral, or just much more muted. So I did think that this was actually very, very close to the cream blush in the really large diamond and blush palettes that Natasha Denona came out with. So here in Daria, I thought it was very similar, at least looking, to this one. And then, like I mentioned in the intro, I also wanted to compare it to the NARS Air Matte Blush in Darling. And this is what Darling looks like. So these are really the only two blushes that I felt like were as punchy as this. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the swatches. So over on the left-hand side is the new Natasha Denona Love Cheek Duo Cream Blush. Next to that is the Natasha Denona Daria Cream Blush from this large diamond and blush palette. And then on the right is the NARS Air Matte. So I do think the shades are all very similar. I think the Daria cream blush looks a little bit lighter because I think it's actually just older and a little bit more dried out. And then the NARS Air Matte, because of the formula, it's just a lighter application. So I think if I were to just build it up and build it up and build it up, or maybe even sheer out the Natasha Denona one, they would be a lot more similar looking, because I think the tone and the color of the two blushes are actually very, very close. And then in terms of the highlight side, I really thought I was going to find a lot more comps in my collection, and I really didn't find too many. So I am comparing it to 3 others. Well, let me just show you actually in the Love Glow palette, just as a reminder, these are the 4 products in there, and there's nothing really like that highlight. This one is just like a straight up champagne. There's no kind of like duochrome to it. And then this one is like just, you know, like a pink glittery kind of like top coat type of product. So nothing in this other Love Glow cheek palette. But when I took a look at the Glow, I wanted to compare it to this one. So we're going to compare it to this highlight right here in the Bloom cheek palette. This is of a different formula. But I do compare it to that one. And then I do compare it to the Becca Parisian Lights highlighter. This is actually the first highlight that came to mind when I saw the Natasha Denona one, because this is probably in my collection like the pinkest well, what I thought was the pinkest highlight that I have. So we're going to compare to that. And then I also thought, because of the formula, I thought, let me go ahead and compare it to this Melt highlighter. This is the Illuminacion. That was part of their limited edition collection. I already forget the name, but it was like the Day of the Dead collection. Anyway, so I'm going to compare it to this. So here are those swatches. So all the way on the left, we have the new Love Cheek Duo highlight. And you can see that it has like a pretty strong like pink going on, which is why when I applied it to my cheek, I was surprised that I saw a lot more champagne and gold versus the pink. And then next to that, we do have that Glow Extreme Powder from the Bloom palette from NATASHA Denona. And then next to that, we have the Becca Parisian Lights. And you can see that once you swatch the Becca Parisian Lights, it really is, it's a lot frostier and lighter and not quite as pink as the NATASHA Denona. And then finally, the Melt has some similarities to it, but the Melt has a lot more color shifting going on. It's definitely not just like a duochrome. I feel like it's more of a multi-chrome. There's like lilacs in there, purples in there. I actually think the Melt would be an amazing match to the eyeshadow palette, because the eyeshadow palette has a lot of mauves and purples in there, and it's actually very, very similar to that duochrome eyeshadow that I tapped onto the center of my lid. So that is the Melt highlight. So those are all the comparisons for the cheek duo. As for the eyeshadow palette, I really didn't find anything like worth comparing it to. I was just kind of like eyeing a lot of the NATASHA Denona palettes, and I just didn't see anything too similar. So I'm just gonna hold it up next to the Love palette, because of course this is the one that I kind of reached for first. But you can see that they're just, I don't know, the tones are different. Like the mauves in here are a lot cooler, and they're matte in here, and maybe they're like a shimmer in here. So pretty different. Pretty different. Nothing too close. I mean, same vibes, you know, pinks and purples, I guess, but nothing close. And for the Amorosa lipstick, like I had mentioned, it's a little bit lighter and more neutral than a lot of the nudes that I have. So many of the nudes that I had that I thought were like light enough to be a dupe for the Amorosa were peachier. So they were just like kind of a completely different tone. The one that I thought was the closest is from Bond Number 9, the Hudson Yards. So here the Amorosa is on the left-hand side, and the Bond Number 9 Hudson Yards is on the right-hand side. And they're close, but I do think the Bond Number 9 is like a teensy bit, I don't know, like a teensy bit cooler. I feel like, I don't know, every time I move my arm, I kind of feel like I see like, oh no, they're the same, or they have the same level of peachiness. Yeah, if I had to pick one, if I had to pick one that is cooler out of the two, it would be the Hudson Yards. I just feel like I see a little bit more gray in that color than I do the Amorosa, but these two are, in my collection, the closest nudes that I have. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.